Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to this week's Creative Corner. We are going to be learning the fundamentals of block printing, so the basics, if you will. Before we get started with our workshop, let's first go over some of the materials you'll need. If you are interested in doing this at home, we do have some supply kits available for you to request. In your supply kit, you'll receive this linoleum block that's a shrink wrap, as well as the instructions for today's workshop. Other than that, you'll have to get some of these materials on your own. So we're going to be working with both watercolor paper as well as some fabric. I have a linoleum cutter, and then these are some printmaking supplies. So we have a roller brush, and then one of these things, I don't know the technical term for it, but we're going to use it. And then we, of course, have ink. I have black today as well as red. And then I have a little plastic bag as a surface where we're going to spread the ink. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. The first step on the process is designing your overall prints. So we actually did this in person a few years ago, and we made the Zia symbol for New Mexico, and then kind of Southwest inspired design. You can tell these are really worn because we've used them a lot. I did find one of my personal ones. So this is an architecture building, and I'll talk about the process when we get into it. And then I started this one for the demonstration for today, so we'll go ahead and do this one here in a minute. But with block printing, you can do this either on paper, on fabric. It's great to make a single one of these and replicate it a lot with the design itself. It's been used since the early 200s with newspapers, with printing. There's a lot of different ways to utilize this. And you'll need a pencil. This linoleum is relatively easy to use. All you have to do is just draw out what you want. And with this, you are going to be printing whatever you want on the surface. That means you're going to use your linoleum cutter to cut away whatever you don't want printed. So for instance, I want a good majority of this, but not a lot. So with this tool, these linoleum cutters are relatively easy to find, and they're really inexpensive. This one I purchased for $10 for our demonstration today, and it came with a variety of different tips to utilize. And with this, I'm trying to decide, but you're just going to dig into the surface, apply some light pressure, and it's going to cut away a piece of it. So like I said, it's relatively easy to use. You just got to put some pressure when you start using it. They're also relatively thick too as well. So even if you go too far down, it's not going to cut all the way through. So this is going to be the start of this design. But what I did with this other one, and what I did was I'm focusing on these diamond shapes that I have in the design. So I want to get rid of most of this pink area here. And the great thing with block printing too is if you want to do more complex designs, if you trace out your design, you can use tracing paper to do this, or regular copying paper, and either trace out or draw out your initial design, and then you can replicate it across different linoleum blocks. So the first layer will be one design, and then the second layer will be a detail of the first layer, so you can actually build up on your linoleum blocks. And there we have it. So again, I used a variety of different carving tips that came with this this cutter to cut away some of the blank spaces I did not want in the design, and I left these diamond shapes in the design itself. The next step we're going to do is the printing step. Alright everyone, so if you are working with paper, be conscious of the type of ink that you buy, because this is water-soluble ink, to wash our print a little bit more easier. If you work with fabric, make sure you get fabric paint, so that way there is a slight difference. You don't want to use the water-soluble on fabrics and then you wash it and then it gets ruined. So with that, I think the very first one we're going to do is black. So we're what I did was I taped down a Zip-loc bag. You want a surface that's nice and flat, because it makes this next part better. But a little ink goes a long way. Then you'll use your roller brush, and you want to make this, the ink itself, as even as possible. Because if you don't do this process, then you risk adding too much ink to your surface, and then your overall print isn't going to look good. So once I have that, then I can go ahead and add it to my linoleum. But then you'll get your linoleum, and I'm using watercolor paper. Place down your linoleum, and then grab this, and it's going to apply pressure, because you want nice even pressure around to get the ink onto your surface. And then you just carefully remove your linoleum, and then we have a nice print. Like I said, I need more ink, so that way it comes out a little bit better. But then you can see some of the linoleum that I didn't carve away left these streaks, which is pretty cool. I'm going to leave it as is. But then again, like I said, we're going to add if I wanted this a little bit more professional quality, I would have measured out the paper itself first, and then decide on where I want it to place the linoleum. Otherwise, if you have a larger sheet like what I have here, you can also cut off the excess to make it look more centered. And there you have it. So compared to the first one, That's what our first one looked like. We used a little bit more ink and then it came out a whole lot better. So again, this is a multi-step process, but once you get the hang of it, manufacturing your prints will go a whole lot smoother. If you're working with larger paper, you can do multiple prints per that paper and then just cut off the excess amount. You can use these as simple gifts. If you want to make more complex designs, that is entirely up to you. So this is the one we did today. We started this one earlier. We'll use a little bit more. And then these are just a variety of other examples that we've done in the past. And it's really up to you how you would like to do this. Be conscious of the inks that you utilize too as well. We use some water-soluble ink. It's easier to clean up from the linoleum, but that also means you can't use it on fabric, because if you do and you wash it, it's going to ruin the ink on the fabric. Instead, use fabric paints or fabric ink to do designs on fabric. And then you'll need some other tools like this roller brush that makes the ink more nice and smooth and flat and even when you apply it to your print. Because if you apply it directly on it, it's going to look blotchy. The paint is going to go into your crevices, and that's not what you want, because over time that's going to build up. And then if you don't have one of these fancy pressure tools, you can just utilize your hands, your palms, your knuckles to push down onto the linoleum to make the ink go onto the paper itself too as well. The possibilities are endless. Like I said, use this to make gifts for the holidays coming up pretty soon. Thank you for joining me on today's Creative Corner session. We worked on block printing, which has been used for over a millennia, whether that was the first newspapers to making fabric. The possibilities are endless. So apply what you learned today to make holiday gifts, to make your own clothing. It's really up to you. The 5 most important things you'll need is the linoleum blocks, your material, whatever you decide to work with, the roller brush that I showed you earlier. It makes the ink nice and smooth, it just makes it a whole lot easier. A linoleum cutter, and then of course whatever ink that you prefer. So if you're working with fabrics, make sure you get fabric ink. If you're working with paper or fiber, make sure you get a different type of ink. Like I said, it just depends. If you're not already, be sure to subscribe to our social media. We have a lot of different platforms that we've accumulated, and it is available on the homepage of our website. If you would like to do this workshop at home, you'll receive one of these free linoleum blocks, and then you'll just provide the rest of the supplies. And if you would like one, just head to our website as well and request it through our supply kits, and we'll go ahead and get you one so you can work on it too as well. My name is Josh. Thank you for joining me this afternoon, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.